I think it's fair to say that the landscape of Formula 1 can change entirely on a race-by-race basis. One race you're a driver out of form, with questions about your future being on the lips of the media, and the next you're drenched in champagne and being offered contracts left, right and centre. It seems, whether due to social media giving everyone a megaphone, or just the ease of access that everyone has to the sport and its behind-the-scenes goings-on, that this phenomena has been intensified in recent years, where backlash and praise can be dealt out by the same hands mere hours apart. It's clear that there are two drivers on the brink at the moment for very different reasons, with one struggling to reclaim his lost form of yesteryear and one on the brink of losing it all, but there could be a key factor linking the two of them, with Liam Lawson potentially being the make or break factor for two drivers and their continued existence in Formula 1. To put it lightly, if that ends up being the case for either driver, it won't be pretty because neither of them looks to be going down without a fight. Want to know why Red Bull could lose out on a potential Verstappen replacement? Max has made it clear that he won't be around forever, and this driver has made it clear that he is willing to find a future elsewhere if he keeps being neglected. And stick around, because as good of a driver as he is, could Carlos Sainz's arrogance leave him out of the sport entirely? Let's start off with Daniel Ricciardo, a driver who has been under a lot of scrutiny and for pretty good reason. When you're the man who is expected to cause real problems for Sergio Perez by performing miracles in the sister team, it's a pretty bad sign when Red Bull decide that there is no hope of you getting into the main team after a mere 5 races of the season, and thus signing Perez on for a continued contract. While certainly picking up in performance in recent weeks, Daniel has been a shadow of what he once was for a little while now, only recently showing some of the spark that was expected of him upon re-entering the sport back where it all began a decade ago. While Helmut Marko recently gave his, and supposedly the shareholders' thoughts about keeping Daniel at the team, claiming that he was basically just around to be promoted to replace Checo if he proved worthy, Peter Bayer gave a slightly less brutal response to Daniel's ongoing existence within the VCARB team, saying, "We don't need to develop Daniel. He came into the team to perform and to help us with Yuki. Between Daniel and Yuki, Daniel has been a part of that Yuki development project. At the same time, we obviously were also expecting from him as a very fast and experienced driver. We were expecting performance from him, and we are expecting performance from him." And when asked if Ricciardo's seat is currently in danger, Bayer said, "So without creating pressure or doing an evaluation of if his seat is in danger, I think he knows. We know that he needs to perform. If he's not performing, it will be difficult to put him in the car next year. So as long as Daniel performs well, he will stay at the team and may well be retained for next year." This is a far cry from Marko's comment about the sister team being all about developing young drivers, which it could be supposed is just Marko holding on to what the team was in the past before this season's push for further independence from its Red Bull counterpart. Bayer would go on to say that things have indeed changed in regards to promoting drivers into F1 through the Red Bull sister team, especially since the death of the late Dietrich Mateschitz, saying, "It was basically Mr. Dietrich Mateschitz saying on juniors, if we want to change 4 times a season, we'll change 4 times a season because that's your job. You will get them those couple of runs in F1 and then we'll see whether they can do it or not. That has changed now. We still need to do that as part of our job, but we also need to be successful." According to Ricciardo, he feels he is doing enough to keep himself in the seat, feeling he has demonstrated an uptick in performance in recent weeks that prove that he is capable of bringing success to the team, claiming that he has gotten the most possible out of the car in the past 3 races. And rightly so, given that he has performed better than his teammate in those 3 races, bringing home a tidy amount of points which could prove pivotal to the team given Alpine's recent uptick in performances. The timing of this performance boost could be pivotal, as there is the looming presence of his mid-season replacement following Zandvoort last year, Liam Lawson. Lawson, and I think this is a sentiment shared by most fans of the sport, did more than enough to warrant a place on the grid next season, and we really couldn't blame him if his patience was becoming thin. I mean, hey, Oliver Behrman jumped in a Ferrari for 1 race and is pretty much guaranteed a seat. Lawson dragged an AlphaTauri consistently to match and even beat his teammate at times, which isn't exactly bringing the second fastest car on the grid at the time to a fairly uncontested 7th. Don't get us wrong, we're excited to see Behrman in the sport, but on the merits of Lawson's performances last year, it should be him that he goes up against, no matter which overalls he is wearing. And that brings us on to our next point. Just when will Lawson pull the trigger if he is not granted Ricciardo's seat? The Honey Badger is certainly making the decision to replace him harder, given his recent performances following Jacques Villeneuve's, motivational speaking. According to Helmut Marko, however, Lawson will 100% be on the grid, non-negotiably, with him saying, "We will offer him something, a cockpit for next year. It is clear that Racing Bulls are a junior team. That has been communicated internally and everyone has understood that. But there are 2 seats with 2 asses in them, one with a contract and one with seemingly a guardian looking over him. Oh, and I wonder who that could be." Toto Wolff said something recently that could highlight just why the team seems to have lost a great deal of its zeal in regards to promoting juniors ruthlessly, bringing into question just how equipped Oliver Mintzlaff is to take on the mantle left behind by Mateschitz, saying, "At the beginning, I thought Oliver Mintzlaff was brought in to run that company with an iron fist, but the decisions that are being made there are clearly being made elsewhere. I believe they wanted the Horner story to be handled in the way that it probably should have been handled, but that did not happen." So it seems that all the hooting and hollering about Lawson's future from Marko might well be the equivalent of him yelling at a wall. Helmut isn't the man that calls the shots after all, and with his old sparring partner no longer in the picture, his words seem to carry far less weight. However, it would seem that he isn't completely wrong about Lawson, though he may not like the way that his entry into Formula 1 comes about. Lawson is allowed to, and made it clear that he will, walk away from the Red Bull family if he is denied a seat for 2025, and there are only a few teams left with seats that could take him on. While many teams would jump at the opportunity to see such an exciting and race-proven young talent, there is one in particular with the links that could make it all happen: Audi. If you cast your mind back a few years, the owner of the Audi brand, the Volkswagen Group, were on the precipice of joining Formula 1 in collaboration with Red Bull with Porsche, possibly the coolest F1 deal to never happen sadly. And supposedly the ties between the two are still very strong. The main crux of the deal is Audi's growing impatience with Carlos Sainz, as well as the possibility that Sainz could snub them any day now for either the historic Williams or the currently resurgent Alpine. If Red Bull, or more likely Helmut Marko, were to approach Audi with the proposal that they take on Liam Lawson rather than take the punt on someone else or keeping one of their current drivers, something they don't seem too eager to do, then Audi would end up with, in our opinion, a sleeper lineup of absolutely monstrous capabilities. You'd have Mr. 4th place alongside the most track-proven youngster on the fringes of the sport in a car with the backing of a gargantuan brand with racing pedigree. What's better for Red Bull is that this move may not even need to be permanent, as a loan would appease Lawson by giving him a seat, take the pressure off Ricciardo, and create stronger ties with Audi by giving them a good driver with massive potential which they could use for their first few years in the sport. The only potential loser here is Carlos Sainz, whose relaxed attitude and borderline arrogance in regards to the driver market could render him down a muddy-looking creek without a paddle. Each team on the grid currently interested in Sainz, namely Audi, Alpine, and Williams, are currently eyeing up other driver options when Sainz was the favourite for all of them just a month ago. By playing hooky with his decision to align with a team, he is playing a pretty dangerous game. Alpine seem to be his best bet at the moment, however they're now performing tests on both Grand Prix weekends and at private testing events on young drivers already within the Alpine family, something which Sainz should be concerned about given Alpine's desire to prove that their junior program and current young drivers creates great racing drivers, rather than take on an outsider to the program. Williams have also made it clear that they are now talking to other drivers, with the Grove team wanting to have their 2025 driver options in place as soon as possible. With the emergence of other proven drivers like Esteban Ocon and previous driver for Williams Valtteri Bottas, it is understood that Williams won't wait around for Carlos to make up his mind and can happily find options elsewhere. Sainz has made it clear over and over again that he is in no rush, saying that he will take all of the time that he needs. Well, Carlos may soon find out that the world of Formula 1 doesn't entirely revolve around him, and bigger fish have been burnt by being less arrogant in the past.